Okay, so I'm Mark. I'm a senior producer on the Alexa Games team. I'd like to go around the room and have people introduce themselves, who you are and what you do.
I'm Jason Haber. I'm a general manager for Phenomena.
Okay.
I'm Dan Clegg. I'm a game designer at Phenomena.
I'm Simon Messer. I work for the CAA in the UK.
And what do you do with there?
I am head of design for training.
Okay.
I'm Hannah Talon. I'm a level designer working on a program in SMU Guildhall at the moment.
Same with me. I'm Aspen Clark. I'm a level design student at SMU Guildhall in Texas.
Awesome. So we have lots of designers in the room. That's great. So the demo we're going to do first is called Saint Noir. It's a murder mystery style game, similar to Clue, except in Clue, you have to know the weapon and the room and the suspect, right? And you have to do that correctly. And then the person that actually makes the final guess, they have to look at the cards, right? And if they guessed wrong, they're out. They can't play anymore because now they know. Well, with this game, Alexa is the one that knows. And you just ask Alexa if you're correct, right? And so in this game, all of the suspects, they are either liars or truth tellers. They'll never switch. Now, the killer is always a liar, but that doesn't mean all the liars are killers, right? So what you do is you use the different locations and the different weapons in each location and the other suspects to narrow down who's telling the truth and who's a liar, which hopefully will then lead you to the actual suspect, right? So in this demo just for GDC, we've eliminated a lot of the game mechanics just because the game normally lasts 20 to 30 minutes, right? So here we only have 3 suspects, we don't use any weapons, and we only use a single location, the diner. All right, so now we can start as soon as somebody says this.
Alexa, open Saint Noir.
Welcome to Saint Noir. Ready to solve your first murder? Well, we're gonna need all the help we can get with this case. Victim's name was Abby Halfstrom, found at the local diner with a mighty suspicious gunshot wound to the back.
So normally you'd use
Now,
these
we've got 3
because it's a
suspects in
gunshot,
custody,
but for this we're not
and
using
we
it.
need you to help us figure out who was at the crime scene that night, aka who's a sociopathic liar. So who do you want to question first? The disgraced Ivy League scholar Professor Foyle, the local sleazebag and bar owner Jimmy, or the professional politician Mayor Alves?
Would you like to question? Professor Foyle?
Yeah.
I'm gonna need that one
Oops.
more time.
Professor Foyle.
Every syllable, please.
Professor Foyle.
Wait.
Professor Foyle.
There you
Detective, I trust you don't mind if I make the most of this colossal waste of time and grade some poorly plagiarized term papers while we speak.
go.
If I did mind.
I'd feel awful. Now, brevity is the soul of wit, Detective. Speak your mind.
Miss Halfstrom.
Yes, I didn't know her, of course, though I gather she was one of the few bright minds in this boondock. Shame, but entirely unsurprising. This is what happens to the extraordinary in this town, Detective. They're cut down and made an example of. F minus. Anything else I can help you with?
She's harsh.
All right. So as I mentioned, the body was found at the diner. So let's put our suspect on the spot and ask who they saw at the diner that night.
Do we physically move
Just
the
say,
cursor?
who'd you see at the diner?
Well, I saw Mayor Alves
Now
over
we
there
can
that
Mayor
night.
Alves here.
Any idea what they were doing there?
How would I possibly know that? I saw her there. That's all I can tell you.
Interesting. Let's see if we can corroborate their story. Who do you want to question next? Jimmy or Mayor Alves?
Jimmy.
Detective. Well, isn't this a nice surprise? Usually it's Sheriff Kilmer who drags me in here to harass me whenever somebody loses their kitten.
You understand a woman is dead.
The Hasham girl, right? Well, I don't know what to tell you, Detective. I run a tight ship. No minors allowed in my bar. Not even the pretty ones with the good grades. Now, you got any real questions, Detective?
Charming. Maybe ask who they saw at the diner.
Who'd you see at the diner?
Jimmy.
No, let's see, yeah. I saw Professor Foyle over there at some point.
Okay.
Any idea what they were doing there?
I couldn't can say for sure, but didn't exactly look on the up and up, if you get me.
Eat me.
Get me.
Well, that leaves just one suspect. Probably a good idea to question Mayor Alves, huh? Say the words.
Question Mayor Alves.
Yeah, except you don't get to do that until you buy the full game. I know. Boo.
It's a quick
But
demo.
hey, we had fun, right? If you want the full experience, all 12 suspects, all dialogue unlocked, all that jazz. Because of course there's jazz. Then pre-order Saint Noir today, exclusively on Amazon. Good luck, detective.
So I've played the game 5 or 6 times in the beta, and I've actually never won. The suspects they've always fled the country before I could, accuse the proper suspect. But now the cool thing about the game being on Alexa and basically the rules being in the cloud is the game developer, who has X2 Games, they can collect anonymous analytics and realize that, wow, people aren't winning. Let's say, for example, 90% of people don't win, right? And normally a board game developer would never know that, right? They'd have no idea how many people are winning their game. And so because the rules are in the cloud, they could say, okay, in a normal game they have 7 days with 3 actions before the suspect flees the country. Well, maybe they make it 4 actions per day instead of 3, or maybe they make it 8 days instead of 7. They could even say, make a new game mode. Maybe they have hard mode and easy mode, or a adult mode and a kids mode, right? They could also change voices if they needed to. Like maybe one of the recordings, people aren't clear on what that person is saying, and so they make that dialogue a little more clear. They can update that after the fact, which is pretty awesome. Do you have any questions about Saint Noir?
The board, you're mapping out what happened the night of each
Of the
murder
murder,
or each
yes.
crime?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's about 6 different full arcing stories, and each time you play, each of those story arcs, the characters have different relationships, and so it changes each time you play. And then, of course, the murderer, where it was, and what weapon was used is different every single time.
So how does the board add to the experience? Like that's something you couldn't do just with Alexa.
It would be
obviously you like
really hard to
Okay.
keep everything in your head, right?
But
And so,
it's mostly just for tracking what's happening.
Sorry, I'm not
She's always listening, right? And we'll be back with more from the Amazon Game Tech booth.